This patient is a 22-year-old young man who is a athlete, high school and college athlete. So he's a big guy who happens to have fairly severe cardiomyopathy. He's got a dilated cardiomyopathy that's persistent. His ejection fraction is probably a little lower than 20%. Fortunately, he doesn't suffer from a lot of heart failure symptoms. He was brought to my attention by the referring cardiologist a few months ago when he came in after suffering what really looked like a non-ST elevation myocardial infarction, and we don't really even know why because his coronaries were clear. There's some other possibilities, but he got through that. But we had to wait through the window period, even though we were pretty certain he was going to be a good candidate for prophylactic ICD. We had to wait after that non-STMI. And he has been a good young man in terms of, being 22 years old. It's not easy to comply with doctor's visits and being on the medicines, but he actually has done that. He's taken full ownership of that. And he has actually been wearing a life vest in the meantime, the external wearable defibrillator vest to protect him. He hasn't required any shocks from that, thank goodness. And at this point, he's pretty ready to get his ICD implanted. So we think he's a great candidate for prophylactic ICD, and today's his day. I wanted what I thought was the most durable implant, potentially most trouble-free implant. And I started to think about the fact that even though we really don't know what comes around the bend for him or what other options may be there in the future for management of his cardiomyopathy, we certainly want to protect him in the best way for decades. And at age 22, to put a lead inside his veins and inside his heart, there's a good chance that that lead over time is not going to hold up, and that he would need another lead placed, or that he might have a malfunction, or that he might need a lead extraction down the road, which is something that we would say is the last thing we want to do. We only do when we have to do it. So we wanted to avoid the complications potentially of a long-term implanted transvenous lead in his case. And so the discussion ensued with him, again, about the options of a standard transvenous ICD versus a subcutaneous ICD. He requires no pacing, his heart rates are fine, it's really just a prophylactic ICD, so both options are good. Together with his mother, we decided that the subcutaneous ICD was the way to go.